Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Dune Awakening video. This one is a little different today. This is a story about looking after your fellow neighbor, and proof that there are some good people on Arrakis. That is crazy, dude. Wow. You could have destroyed all my vehicles if you wanted to.
Yeah, but you're a mate. I wouldn't do that.
Thanks, buddy. Well, that's a good heads up, man. Thanks for letting me know that. Zordak is my 70-year-old neighbor in Dune Awakening. So, question, can you push the carrier, or is it too big? And once I realized he always had words of wisdom, I started to record him.
It takes a while, but it's just nudge, 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 and it's not ramming. It's just gentle nudging, and what happens?
He plays the game as a duo with his 40-year-old son.
Vehicles are sitting out here. They will get storm damaged and wrecked. And when they get to the point where I can loot them,
Advanced tips with the Zordak. But you know what? Every time you come and talk to me, I'm going to open up my recording and then we're going to record our chats. And I'm going to say the wise words of Zordak. I'm going to make you a segment on my channel, okay? Because
I subscribe to you too.
Legend. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, Guru Farsali. I went, hey, Plentra's got a whole bloody YouTube. And I watched your whole poison thing with the Mentat.
You like that? Something different?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool.
Awesome. After chatting with Zordak on a few different occasions, I decided it was time to build us a little sit-down area.
So I repair it the most, and I've got stats in repair, so I'm supposed to be able to. Oh dear me.
Would
you like a present?
What's that? He gives great advice and he gives gifts. You gotta love Zordak. Oh, nice, dude. That's a good present. Did you just have that on you?
I got about 10 of them.
Oh, why did you have that in your inventory? Thank you, dude. I love the pulse sword. If you
buddy. I gotta go.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you. Thanks for the chat.
See ya.
Bye.
Yep,
Wise words of Zordak.
Yeah.
Talk to you again soon, man. Now that you've met Zordak, you'll see why I needed to make this video.
No trouble, sunshine. I'll catch you later.
Laters, mate. So unfortunately, Zordak and I had a conversation that I did not end up recording. And in that conversation, he informed me that he would be going on holidays for 2 weeks, and he was absolutely devastated. And the reason is because the base he'd been eyeing for months was about to finally decay. He showed me the location of this base and how the sub-thief was positioned. By using the building tools repair function, you're able to check the status of certain building tiles. And he realized that the tiles that were holding the sub-thief were about to break. I asked him how long they had to go, and he couldn't give me an answer. He said it could be any day now. If the tile that the sub-thief is standing on is destroyed, that means the thief will get destroyed too. And have a look at the potential inside this base. Large ore refineries, plastanium storage boxes, and spice-infused generators. This was no small base, and I can't imagine those storage boxes are empty either. So at first this information seemed like a blessing, but over the next few days I realized it would become a personal hell. I don't know if you've ever watched a base slowly decay over time, but it is a long, painstaking process. And this is due to the fact that different pieces take different damage over time. I have to admit, I believed Critical was 1 or 2 storms away from being destroyed, but that is definitely not the case. The storms in the Hagga basin do minute amounts of damage, compared to the deep desert. So that meant every single time I flew into the basin, I checked the sub-thief. For the next 3 days. And every time I saw another storm, I thought, this is it. And spoilers, it was not it. I became so dedicated to the cause that I even flew my assault copter through a sandstorm to try and see the thief break live. And guess what happened 99% of the times I checked? Another sliver off the red bar. Zordak had done me such a big favor by giving me a heads up about my vehicles potentially being destroyed. I thought, I need to do this for him. And each time I checked, another sliver. The good news was though, we've now moved from critical to wrecked. I must have checked the base 10 to 15 times a day. And then it happened. A sandstorm was on the way and the tiles were in a wrecked condition. This had to be it. Right? I was smack bang in the middle of the storm, and the sub-thief tile was in a wrecked condition. This was it. Consume some water to prepare for impact. Say goodbye to the base. Goodbye, base. It was nice knowing you. There's no way you will survive this desert storm. Any second now, and it'll all come tumbling down. Any second now. I could not believe it. Zordak, my friend, you have cursed me with the never-ending floor tiles of doom. So unfortunately, it had been a long day on Arrakis, and it was time to call it a night. I think this was at 2 AM in the morning, and I just couldn't stay awake any longer. But we had some good news the next morning. Somewhere in the few hours that I was asleep, we lost a whole side of the building. And I learned a lot about wrecked building pieces. They're a lot tougher than you think. It seemed that everything else was intact for now. But it shows how unevenly a base decays over time. With the way that decay works, if you're not here as something does disintegrate to pick up the materials, within 20 minutes they will despawn off the ground. You can see here that it's probably one of these bottom structures that finally disintegrated and started the domino effect. It didn't matter what I was doing. If a storm was on the way, I would drop it and head over to the base. And each time there was a new storm, I was more sure that this was the one. And each time, it wasn't. I was starting to get a little mad. And I gave up hope for another day. I was defeated. That is, of course, until I wasn't. The following morning, about 30 minutes before server reset. At 5:30 AM, I jumped in my thopter and headed over to the base to find this. Now, I have to admit, guys, even though I'd been thinking about this all week long, I had no idea how to actually pull it off. So this strat is the first thing that came to my mind when I realized I had a very limited amount of time to do this. I recently crafted my first carrier container, the Base Raider's Dream. You can see here that we did not have to travel very far. And here we go, we had a nice open spot to place the container down, but not so much space for the carrier. First things first, the blueprint container. I think everybody's got one or two of these. So try remember, guys, it was very early and I was flustered to the news that my time had finally come after 4 days of waiting. So by placing down a subfief, you should be able to take over the area that it occupies. But you need metal for that. And that's when we got the 29-minute server restart warning timer. Now, I have to admit, I was terrible at raiding this base. I couldn't get how to make the circuiting work so that I could just transfer into the container from the other containers. But in the end, I got everything out of there. I think it had something to do with some unfortunate positioning. And because the timer was running out, I panicked and just started loading everything into my backpack. Looking back on the footage now, you can see some weird green zoning issues that are probably the reason for the problem. Once a base has lost its subfief, you can demolish all structures and access all containers. There was 26 minutes till server restart and I was still doing everything by backpack. In this instance, I thought by demolishing the container, the materials inside would land at my feet. That was not the case. I really wish I had a bit more experience doing this and could make this look a little smoother. Again, guys, please remember, it was very early in the morning and I had just opened my eyes and logged in. Zordak, buddy, if you're on holidays and you're watching this video, I just want you to know I tried my hardest. "23 minutes till server restart, and who knows what would happen with the rest of this structure. I didn't want to leave it to chance." Backpack after backpack, we cleared each and every container. Then I thought, would building my own storage help? And that was the game changer. Much better idea. Then from my mini storage container menu, it's much easier to fill the container. Now we're rolling. And I think I realized the thief is in the wrong spot. "20 minutes until server restart. I can speedrun a deep desert lab in under 9 minutes, but the inventory final boss was kicking my ass. All along it was my positioning of the sub-thief that was the problem. Once I realized this, gathering the rest became a lot easier. In hindsight, I would unload the large ore refinery before destroying it. It would make it a lot easier to empty. And I realized I can move my storage to me rather than always going to it. Man, titanium ore is not fun to move with a backpack. But now that we had the sub-thief in a better position, loading the container was much easier. And then we found the good old component container. Everybody has one or two of these. I'm very glad I figured out the circuit issue by this time, because doing this by a backpack would not have been fun. Now that the thief was in a better spot, we could even access the original container we couldn't at the beginning. Blueprints galore, baby. So between the carrier container and my backpack, we were almost able to get all of it. We had time for a very quick trip back to base to unload. About 17 minutes till server restart. One container down. Container secured. I wanted to create these separate storage containers for the haul so we could have it all together. Sort by volume and let's unload. We filled that one fast. Another one. Each container can hold 3,500 volume or 100 individual slots, whichever one fills up first. So that was container 1 and backpack unloaded. It was time to head back for container number 2. I'm just like a cat. If I fits, I sits. Okay, so here we go again. 14 minutes to go. Now, because the thief was in the right position, the circuits were aligned, and we could load everything much more easily. Feel free to skip ahead if you want to see what the final tally was. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the raid. So unfortunately, there was 3 large spice generators that seemed to have disintegrated before I arrived. I also did a quick scan of the floor to see if there was anything that I missed, but I think we got it all. It looked like the only thing left was the plastone. 8 minutes until server restart. So that's container number 2 secured back in the base. So rather than hold on to all these green weapons and armor, I decided to throw them through the recycler and add them to the tally. So you can see there was quite a lot to go through. But I think it's time for the final tally. I eventually sorted each of the containers and separated the contents. The components all in one. All of the ingots in another. All of the unrefined ore in this one. And of course, all of the blueprints. So after breaking down everything that wasn't needed and doing the final count, here is the tally. This is a list of the more rare refined materials. There was over 150,000 Solari and more components than I'll ever know what to do with. And from the unrefined ore we got about 600 titanium. Going through the blueprints I found quite a few tier 6 pieces and even 3 long-range scanners. I've played the game for almost 1600 hours now and never once found a long-range scanner. So this is a message for Zordak. Buddy, if you're on your holiday and you see this video, we did it. After 4 painstaking days of watching a base decay, we finally have our spoils. So thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and if you did enjoy it, please give it a like. And if you're new, please subscribe, as we would love to have you. And I will see you on the next one.